Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Only Murders in the Building Season 3. And this time around, Paul Rudd shows up as a famous star who joins Oliver Martin Short's show, but winds up dead on opening night. And of course, there's murder, so we have to figure out who done it. And we have Steve Martin back as Charles, and like you mentioned, Martin Short as Oliver, and Selena Gomez as Mabel, as they try to figure out this mystery. It's Oliver's show. Charles had conflicts with Paul Rudd's character. Mabel idolized him growing up. And there's a lot of tensions that go into that and kind of put them on separate paths in this season. I do appreciate that it's trying to do something different and kind of like split the team, but a lot of that middle part of this season and some of the earlier parts, I feel like this show isn't quite at its peak in terms of what it's able to do and what it's able to do in the other seasons. This is the first season I feel like there's some wavering in terms of like my interest, and I think a lot of it had to do with that splitting of the team for a decent chunk of this season. And I think one of the biggest challenges is like it got really bogged down in romantic relationships this time around. Obviously Charles has had his share, and some of them haven't gone so well in this show, and I feel like that's always been like a part of Charles's story, so it's not really surprising that he has another one in this particular season, even if it doesn't feel like it amounts to as much, especially compared to Oliver, who hits it off with one of his stars, played by Meryl Streep, who you have Meryl Streep showing up in this show, so that's pretty legit, as this woman who's never really reached her heights as a star, which is so funny, played by Meryl Streep. And then Mabel, who connects with Jesse Williams' characters in addition this season. I felt nothing, to be perfectly honest, for that relationship, and I feel like it was just kind of another distraction. And realistically, I feel like Martin Short, Meryl Streep relationship was the only one of the three that really stood out to me in this season and felt like it really added much. But I do like the mystery of this season. I think Paul Rudd is such a fantastic addition here, and the layers they pull back on his character make it so much more interesting. And the main concept of Oliver putting on this show and you getting to experience the whole behind the scenes of putting on a show, which brings in the likes of Matthew Broderick as Matthew Broderick, which was a lot of fun. And it gave the audience some amazing moments, including Martin Short having a little bit of his moments and his musical theater touches. But Steve Martin really tears the house down with one particular musical number that I've honestly been listening to quite a bit since that episode aired later in the season. Like I said, I do like the mystery here. I liked the mystery. I'm not sure I loved like the resolution, and I don't know how satisfied I felt with like how it actually turned out and who did it. But the mystery that goes through this season and the parallel with this whole show, honestly, a lot of like the putting on the show and trying to put that together was just as or more interesting to me than the actual murder mystery. But when this season does really, really hit its stride in the last couple episodes, when we have the gang back together, they're piecing things together, you have a whole episode focusing on like going through that night of opening night and everything that Paul Rudd's character was going through, and that just added so many layers to his character and the story. That was one of my favorite episodes this season. But in general, I think this was yet another fun, enjoyable, and thoroughly entertaining season of this show, even if some of it, especially towards the middle of the season, wasn't as strong as the rest of the show. But I still, by the end, really enjoyed this season, and looking forward to even more. And it has quite the stinger for a fourth season that can make things extra personal for our crew. So we'll have to see how that goes. But those are my thoughts on Season 3 of Only Murders in the Building. Let me know what you think and let's talk some TV. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.